So how would you define narcissism?
That's a great question, because nowadays we just throw the word, he's a narcissist, that person's a narcissist. And I'm like, well, if you catch me on the wrong day, you'll be like, what's going on with her? And I'm like, okay, narcissism, it's a bunch of symptoms that have to literally be displayed over a period of at least months to years. And usually it's years, okay? These are symptoms that are rooted in pride. These are symptoms, for example, being obsessed with being the best at something. That's one of them. And I'm not talking about a spirit of excellence here. I'm talking because a spirit of excellence, we want to do the best at something, but as long as it's submitted under
Right.
the authority and under the sovereignty of God. That's the difference. See, the true narcissist does not care about that. They want to be either the prettiest, the most powerful, the richest. They have something to prove, and they will go at it at any cost, and it does not matter what it costs anybody, to someone else's detriment. They have a hardened heart. They show lack of empathy. There's a lot of manipulation, depending on the type of narcissist, because you have the power-hungry narcissist who leads with power and control, and they're more loud, and they flaunt that they are better than everyone else.
Yeah.
There's also the undercover narcissist, which this one is harder to diagnose because they lead with self-pity. They're always the victim of something. There's self-pity. They, instead of control, they lead with manipulation and guilt tripping, and they can read people really well. A good example of an undercover narcissist would be Delilah in the Bible, because, I mean, really, she preyed on Samson's weakness, little by little by little.
Interesting.
And, a good example of a power-hungry narcissist would be Pharaoh. I mean, he's like, who is this God that I should listen to him? Because in their mind, they truly believe they are God, the God of their lives. They may not say, I am the God of the universe, but they believe that they control their own destiny and they're entitled to whatever they want. So that's a true narcissist.
Are you able to identify a narcissist pretty quickly?
So if they, yes, but only because I've been trained to, yes.
That's why I was curious.
Yeah.
Like, because you see the behaviors, you see the patterns. So my question is, it's almost like people will say, in order to want to be the president of the United States, you got to be kind of crazy. Like, you kind of have to be, right? Because the amount of pressure that it really takes to do that. And my question in regards to, like, people in the top, whether it's in government or in sports or in business, do you see some of these figures in the culture who are, like, at the top in all these different fields? And can you identify, like, yeah, about like 50, 30%, 70% of them are narcissists, I can just tell.
Honestly, narcissism is no respecter of persons. I have seen people in authority figures, like in leadership positions. I have seen like just a coworker of somebody who is a narcissist. From my experience, it's no respecter of persons. Now, the contributor to someone truly becoming a narcissist from a clinical perspective. Mm-hmm. So we've already established that we are born with a sinful nature. So we all have a baseline of selfishness that the Lord works out in us, and we have to submit to the Lord through the process of sanctification, right? So now there are two ways of becoming a narcissist. Can we go there?
Let's do it. I want to understand this. I want to make sure I'm not a narcissist. So
stop.
Let's be careful.
So the number one is that person has gone through trauma, okay? And this is not to pick on someone who's gone through trauma, because I've gone through trauma. The issue that happens is they internalize that trauma, and they agree with the effects that it had on them. So they start agreeing with everything that people have called them. They start agreeing with the hurt. And because of that, they have a root of bitterness that grows. and they literally grow up with a sense of insecurity. Normally, this happens between the identity developmental stages of life, 0 to 19, because that's when your brain is growing the most. 0 to 19. So this person experienced trauma, and it's unprocessed trauma. They just never processed through it. So now they are walking around with a root of insecurity, but they're trying to outperform it. They're trying to overcompensate for it through self-inflation, through acting like they have a chip on their shoulder. And that's one way. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, and there's absolutely a way to counteract that and to overcome that, but they would need to want to do that. So that's one.
Okay.
The other one is, and sometimes I'm like, mamas out there, please pay attention, because that's where I see the issue a lot of times, is when we have a child in the home and that child meets, like we fill a hole with that child and we put them up on a pedestal and we dote over them. And here's the thing. Think about it. We are born with a selfish nature, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't want to submit to God. And now I'm doting over this child and telling them they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. They're going to believe that. They're going to believe. And so they're going to go out in the real world and they're going to be so surprised that, boyfriend or girlfriend is not bowing down to them and treating them like mom or dad treated them.
If you enjoyed that clip and you want to watch another video like it, you can just click right over here. Or if you want to see my other channel, Directed Life, full-length interviews and really deep conversations, you can click over here.